Here we go. Welcome to the Woods. This is the second episode ever. So we had Shan last time, and today I've got Melanie Lefler, and Melanie Lefler is our Archery Nova Scotia, or once upon a time Archers Association of Nova Scotia president. And I've known Melanie. How long have we known each other, Melanie? Probably going on.
Probably as long as I've been involved with archery.
Yeah.
2012, I believe. 2013.
Yeah, probably seven. That's 7-ish years. I was going to say it's somewhere in that. It's over 5, but probably less than 10. Melanie is the president of Archery Nova Scotia. And I guess first off, I should also say she's also one of our bow hunter instructors for the Bow Hunter Instructor Association of Nova Scotia. So she does teach the bow hunting safety course along with us. We now know that it's 2013 when you started to get involved with archery, Melanie. Take us through the process? Like, you started in archery. How do you become president 7 years later of Archery Nova Scotia?
Well, that's I guess a good question. It definitely wasn't something I expected.
It never is with volunteer roles, Melanie. It never is.
Well, I was used to volunteering. I worked for a bank for 14 years, and part of our even monthly annual, we always volunteered. So that was always pretty easy. So volunteering at my own archery club when it needed some help with for a new treasurer, it was a given with my experience in banking that I applied for the role.
Yep.
So I was with my own club for on the executive, and just evolved from there. Then an opportunity came to sit on Archery Nova Scotia's board, I believe the same year, or 2014, to sit on as the secretary when Nicole transitioned to the treasurer position.
Yep.
So that was how I started. So I was with some seasoned board members that had been within the archery community for quite a while, and sort of integrated as a secretarial position, which is the small, well, it wasn't really a small way, but it was before we had an administrative assistant at Sport Nova Scotia. So right. I guess that kind of shows some involvement there.
Yeah.
So Nicole, when she was no longer able to carry forth with her role, she handed the torch over for treasurer to me. And it's been, as a board member, been pretty much active in just about every facet that has to do with the organization. And I'm also a shooter. So that makes it even more passionate for me as I get direct hands-on to how things kind of transpire.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, it would be very difficult to volunteer for something that perhaps you didn't have a passion in, as is the case for most of us, right? So there's no denying you are very much an archer, because to sit at the head table, I know I've been there, to sit at the head table with a bunch of other archers, all very individuals, I might say. Archery is very much an individual sport, but it's if you didn't have that passion, you wouldn't be able to stick around and try to do what's best for the sport. So I'll thank you right here and now. As I do all volunteers, these administration type roles are difficult ones to fill. They take some time. So I appreciate it myself. Now with archery, the idea today is, as I'm hoping, and again, I've explained this to you, we've had a couple of brief conversation before we got started. I like this just to be an evolving conversation. I would like to say, what is it that I guess appealed to you about archery? Like, what was it that kind of, I suppose, sparked your interest? And then once your interest was sparked, what was it that kind of, yeah, I really enjoy this? And what was it that you enjoyed?
I think it's the accuracy and the feeling you get of the complete control of your own body and mind controls the outcome. And when everything is in sync, you are bang on with your target. And you can tell almost immediately if something's off. You can tell almost before it even lets go. And the feeling when you know that everything is bang on, and then to hit the mark, that's the closest to perfectionism I think that anyone can pretty much get.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've had this conversation in the past with compound archers compared to a more traditional style. Whether we're because Olympic is that middle ground. It still has sights and it's still very, very accurate. And then you have these trad guys like myself who are a little bit nuts. And I've always found it interesting because compound shooters very much seem to like the mental exercise of, shooting little tiny groups at distances of 30, 40, whatever it is that they can manage. And as they improve, they get better and better and better, of course. It's almost as if compound guys are chasing, and I say guys, I apologize, guys and girls, archers in general, compound archers, seem to be chasing perfection. And it's interesting that I hear you use the word, because I've said this a few other times where, if you're in a group of 4 with traditional archers, you're more likely to hear guys say, I was lucky to hit foam on that one. And they may be some of the best archers out on the course. It's interesting that, so have you ever tried the more traditional style stuff? And when I mean tried, have you gone out and shot a 3D course completely with traditional gear?
With traditional gear, no,
No,
I haven't.
Always been compound?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So do you enjoy that, trying to chase that perfection? How do you find that sets you up for when you start competing? And understanding, of course, we all compete on different levels. And I often say you're better off competing with yourself than anybody else on the course. But when you go into, let's say, a 3D competition, are you going out with that idea of chasing some type of perfection? Or do you go out chasing the good time, the camaraderie? Where are you at right now?
It's not a 3D shoot is not the same as the first experience that you described.
Right.
So when you're not chasing perfection, and I guess to go to your first point with competition, I'm only competing with myself. I'm not competing with anybody else. So that's kind of where you said that archery is an individual sport. It is. You have the opportunity to be part of a team. You have the opportunity to be part of an archery family. You have an opportunity to be a part of a designated professional team just based on performance alone.
Yeah.
So there's lots of even facets that way. So everyone's perspective of chasing the dream or aiming for perfection, my idea of perfection for myself is different than anyone else's idea of perfection for what their goal is for their own aim. So that's kind of from the competition perspective. Of course, it is nice to be able to look and say that, oh, I rank in the top 10 against everyone that attended this event nationally or internationally. So that is great as well, but it's also personal perspective. So where I feel it's no secret that I was in a car accident years ago.
That's right.
So when I was at nationals last year, I fully expected to become last. It would be overwhelmingly surprisingly if I did not. So that was exactly where I was. But for me, that was looking out, I can only improve from this point. So that gives me a baseline of something to compare myself and a reminder of how far that I've come with my own archery and relearning everything. And
yeah, that really leads me perfectly into something I was hoping we might have a chance to discuss. I know that we have nationals, should everything, COVID-wise work out this summer, but we have nationals that are coming to Prince Edward Island with Duncan Crawford and his club over at Archery PEI. Our nationals for archery isn't an invite; it's an open, right?
So everybody can go.
And so literally anybody with any amount of experience can go and it is still a very fun event. You know, you can go and not necessarily have, you know, the expectation to place, if maybe you do, but you can enjoy the shoot even though you're not necessarily going out there for the results of first, second, or third place. But it's still a great event to go to, test your own skills, and then have it as a benchmark for any future nationals that you might choose to go to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what you did last year, that would have been your first nationals. That was in, not last year, sorry, would have been the year before because nationals were canceled last year. That was the Lac La Biche, Alberta.
No, that was in Prince Albert,
Oh,
Saskatchewan.
right. Sorry. That was the year before that Lac La Biche, I think, happened, right? If I remember. Or it was Lac La Biche is where the Worlds had taken place.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. That was it exactly. And then that's an interesting thing that, I mean, we had the World Championships here in Canada 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I would love to see, because here in this province of Nova Scotia, we have a lot of guys and girls that end up purchasing bow hunting licenses for both bear, deer, and all other game species. And we sell a lot of them in this province. But we don't always see that same number or those same people, those bow hunters, always buying Archery Nova Scotia memberships. And I know that was discussed a lot in my time with Archery Nova Scotia. It probably still gets discussed on occasion within the executive and the board. Why is it? Do you have any idea yourself why it is some of these guys who really enjoy going out bow hunting may not be making that transition over and practicing on our 3D circuit as we have it in Nova Scotia?
I don't know the answer to that question, Travis.
Neither do I. I think I knew that you didn't know the answer because I don't think any of us do. But maybe someone watching this video, a bow hunter that's not an archer, maybe they'd be able to tell us, or maybe we reach a couple of bow hunters who might see this and they come out and give it a go.
It could be also lack of knowing that there are maybe an archery club in their area or within an hour's drive. I mean, exceptions for the right now in HRM and with COVID having recreation sport and archery falling under that jurisdiction on pause. But there are many clubs throughout the province. So perhaps I might not know. I've run into, I think, two people, not recently, but within the last month or two, that said they had no idea that there was an archery club 10 minutes outside of their town.
Right.
And they happened to run into me, and just out of conversation, archery sort of does come up, not for any reason that I,
yeah,
because it's something I'm passionate about, so it does usually come up in conversation. But
yeah. I don't know how many times I've been going down an aisle in any particular store that sells archery equipment, and somebody there will go, "You're buying those? Do you know anything about archery? I'm trying to get in," and I'm like,
yeah. Ooh, do you know who you're talking to?
So, but they don't, you know, they don't necessarily know. And I find that interesting because in the world of Google and all the rest of it, I mean, to Google archery and Nova Scotia, you know, your first hit should be archery Nova Scotia, you would think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily happen. So, you know, that's, again, part of the reason why I like doing some of this vlog stuff is I'm hoping to try and bring information and crossover
Well,
to people that are, sorry?
Maybe there is someone watching that would love to volunteer their time to help make archery in Nova Scotia be #1 on the Google search.
How does that work? I don't even know. How do you even make? Yeah, how do you make something #1? suppose
That's
that's why we need.
expertise, but I've had this conversation a couple of times to make
Yeah.
it happen. I think there's about $250 involved,
Oh,
but yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah. So,
Wherever the going rate is to hire a web person, but I'm sure
uh,
there's lots of people that know how to do that from behind the scenes.
I hear you. I hear you. So, all right. So you're looking for someone to do that. Well, then let's hope maybe that person is out there and listening, and reach out to me, and I'll make sure you get a hold of Melanie. When it comes now, you are fairly new to as a bow hunter instructor, and I know that as far as big game bow hunting, that's something that you're newer at, and trying to gain more experience. And I know you had a good positive experience this year. Instead of me asking you too much right now about that experience and where that was, so that I can go shoot that big buck that you missed this year. I'm kidding, of course. I'm the one who does all the missing. How does 3D archery, in your opinion, translate to your bow hunting? Do you find there's a link? Like,
with my limited experience, I would say the only comparison would be the distance judging, because going through a 3D course is not the same as sitting in, say, a tree stand and for hours waiting for something to happen. So it's a little bit different in that sense. I mean, there's still that lead up of, you don't know what the animal is going to be when you come up to the next target, and you don't know what the distance is going to be. The wind might not just be right, and so there's that whole element, but it's not quite the same as hunting.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's more, it's shooting at a foam target in the woods versus.
So I often say, when people say, does the 3D archery help? What I find is it just makes me a great deal more, I'm going to use the word intimate with my bow. I understand, by going to these competitions and being pushed with my limits, because they'll set up some targets that are further than I would ever shoot a big game animal. But it really starts to help you get the confidence in you as an archer and your equipment, and what the two of you, if that's what you want to say, and what you're capable of. And I don't know that my personality, that without having gone to a 3D shoot and been able to repeatedly shoot double lungs, or 8-point shots is what most people refer to them, because an 8-point ring is about the size of a lungs on an animal. If I couldn't go to a shoot and prove to myself that I was able to do that repeatedly, when push came to shove in the woods, I'd likely panic, because I care too much for making sure that I give that animal as good a shot as I'm capable of, so it doesn't suffer. So I find that the 3D shooting, although you're right, it doesn't mimic a hunt, I think it does help someone really kind of push their limits and really find what they're capable of, and give them the confidence to make a great shot when the time comes. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Now, when you do go to shoots, do you tend to use a competition setup and then more of a hunting setup later, or do you tend to use the same setup for both?
On my personal bow?
Yeah.
I was doing competition with my hunting setup between September and last Saturday.
Right. Yeah.
And I switched over to my competition. I have a different release site, and my equipment's different for target for competition.
I do like the idea that, because I even myself, early season, sometimes I'll do myself the advantage and shoot a much lighter arrow, so that my arrows travel a little bit flatter, giving me a little bit of an advantage, as you might say, to trying to score a better score. But then quite often towards late season, in, say August, I do tend to switch back to my hunting arrows so that I can make sure that everything is tuned. Yeah, I like that idea. Something I do myself. Yeah. What else can we talk about? What's going on? And without, again, I don't want you to give me any secrets, but are we looking? No. Don't be worried. We're looking at hopefully having a spring season. I mean, with COVID vaccines starting to roll out, are we hopeful that we have an?
Well, we actually have a shoot schedule already drafted and will be uploaded onto the Archery Nova Scotia website this week. So our archery season isn't just 3D though. So
Yep.
We have our first shoots the first weekend, and not everybody happens to have a shoot schedule on their handy floor, but the 9th of January. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 indoor 18 meters before the first outdoor 3D shoot.
Right.
So hopefully, with all the protocols that are in place, with the social distancing, wearing a mask when you're inside a public space, inside the building, everywhere's but on the field of play.
Yep.
The competition itself, all of those guidelines have been in place since I think August, and they've just been developed kind of as the situation's been evolving as well.
Yep.
So those protocols and the pre-registration in place to assess for any of the mandatory public health questions that we need to ask regarding COVID. So it really should. I can't see why there wouldn't be. I mean, if the challenge is, if you look at right now in Halifax, we are on restricted travel.
Yes.
So non-essential. So that would be an impact, because the rest of the province is okay to move freely, and any archers in this bubble are restricted to here. So we wouldn't be able to participate. So if it was a large event, or if the event was, say, here, and because it goes both ways,
yes,
they're not allowed traveling in, that could be an impact. So with the vaccine coming next year, I think next year, 2021, will be mostly kind of a trial and error, and everyone will be patient and go through all of those transitions, just like with every other business sector. And hopefully 2022, all of the kinks will be worked out. Everyone will have these Zoom meetings and realities down pat.
So the target archery ones, the indoor 18 meters, being as this channel or this vlog is kind of centered around, let's say, outdoor enthusiasts, perhaps more so than your indoor target archer. Is that first 3D shoot the frozen finger at Glooscap?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. This is one of my favorite shoots. I have to tell you, it is so much fun. Everybody has ring rust, so it's competitive but not competitive. Everybody wants to do their best, but a lot of guys come out of the woods going, wow, I got to practice a little bit more before I get to the next 3D shoot. And we all laugh and have a great time. For those that don't know what a 3D archery shoot looks like, how would you explain it to someone who's never been to one?
Okay, so it'd be like walking through a trail system that every 100 to 150 yards you would stop, aim at a foam target set at anywhere between, I think, 5 and 50 yards away, and based on whatever your category stake would be. You would stay at that position, or if it's a non-competitive shoot, wherever you're most comfortable. It's definitely not as a means to discourage anybody. Like you say, it's a fun shoot. Everyone's out to have a good time. So walking through the woods, shooting at a target, having you're usually in a group of 3 or 4 assigned with your own division. So they might be new people that you haven't had that you may not in your everyday life have an opportunity to meet.
Yep.
Yeah, and everyone has a good time, shoots their arrows, and then retrieves, records your score, whether or not it's for yourself or for to put up on a board. And then you do that for 20 targets. There's a break in between, and then you do round 2. Usually it starts early in the morning, 8 or 9 for registration and start time, done around lunchtime, then in the afternoon, and then if there was any awards for prizes based on first, second, and third. The Frozen Finger is in collaboration with the Traditional Association.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our Traditional Archers Association. Yeah, that's there's a big award given out at that for the highest round scored as well. I've often referred to it, and not everybody likes this particular analogy, but I refer to it as redneck golf.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like that either.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty apt because I usually shooting with a bunch of rednecks, but it's foursomes, like you say. You're in a group of 3 or 4. You go out, you shoot a round, much like golf. There are 20 holes or 20 targets, all different. Different animals, different distances, and you go out, and it's a shotgun start, which if you start on target number 3, you end on target number 2, and then you walk out, you have your lunch, and then after eating far too many hot dogs or sweets, you're expected to go back in and shoot even better, even though you've got the drowsies from eating too much chili. It is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the most fun things, and I look forward to it so much every year. It doesn't matter where in the province, any of the clubs, there's so much fun. I get to meet new people. New people, more importantly, get to meet me. I think that's always one of the great things. And if you haven't tried it, if you haven't tried 3D archery, the only thing I often tell to people is you only have to try it once, because you will. If it's for you, I think you will fall in love with it after your first round. And I know guys that were brand new to archery. They went out and they bought a dozen new arrows with their recurve. They went in for the first round and really didn't know how to shoot and would lose half their arrows. Now, I say that we fixed that problem with this non-competition style stake where you can shoot from where you're comfortable. And I think that's a wonderful thing for those individuals that are new. But those guys that went and lost their 6 arrows in the morning round were all too happy to go back and buy another dozen arrows to make sure that they could go to the next shoot. I mean, it's so much fun, isn't it, Melanie? I mean, I'm not lying. It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's I definitely do miss when I don't have an opportunity to shoot some arrows.
Yeah. And what is it? It's $25 for a full day of entertainment.
Oh yes, you will be entertained.
Right? $25, and you can take your own lunch, or you can buy a lunch for $5 or $6 usually to help support the club that you're shooting at. And then, other than potentially misplacing an arrow somewhere on the course, that's it. That's all the cost.
Well, there's an additional $5 if you're not already a member of Archery Nova Scotia. So clubs do, depending on where their shoot's located, it might be a little bit more than $25, but right. It's usually about that price. But yeah, so if you're,
we would certainly ask that everybody join Archery Nova Scotia. That's certainly kind of the game every association is trying to play. We definitely like to have the members up, and the more paid members, the more things that the organization's able to do and improve the sport for everyone. So that the $5 is a great way to go and try the sport perhaps for the first time if you're uncertain if it's for you. But what is the cost of a membership for just an individual this year, Melanie, to kind of put it in perspective?
The cost for the entire year is $40 for anyone over the age of 21. And if you're a youth, it's 30. Families of a minimum of 3. So that'd be two adults. So over the age of 21 and up to 3 or more is $90.
So if there's a bow hunter out there, and I suppose this is what I'm trying to do, I would like to see more bow hunters that aren't archers coming to these types of shoots. We're looking at a $40 investment at the beginning of the year, and that's your Archery Canada or your Archery Nova Scotia membership, of which a part goes to Archery Canada. We don't have to get into that. And then $25 every time you go to a shoot for the rest of the summer.
Yeah.
And then
the great thing about the probably one of the most popular benefits of the Archery Nova Scotia membership is the fact that with it you have the benefits of the insurance. So it covers you if your provincial bylaws allow you to shoot in your yard, it covers you for liability. So that's a huge benefit for a lot of members, not just the bow hunters, but anyone who likes to practice at home as well.
Absolutely. Nope. And it's one of those, it's one of those things I do. Again, I'm always hoping to try to bring more people, not only into the sport of archery, but into outdoor activity. And I don't care if it's fishing, kayaking, camping, hunting, these outdoor pursuits are something that I think that as we become more and more urbanized as a culture and as a population, these opportunities to get out and enjoy outdoor activity is absolutely key. And as someone who has dealt with anxiety, majority of my life, there is something about resetting and being able to go out into the woods, enjoy that social time, and just being at peace for the day. Most of the shoots happen on Sundays, the 3D shoots anyway. Almost all of the shoots in one way or another are on the weekend, even for the target archery. Sometimes they'll have target archery on Saturdays, if I remember correctly. And so the opportunity to do that, and something that doesn't get spoken about enough, the number of young couples that take up the sport of archery together, as well as families. It always amazes me that it is one of those sports that, you're not probably going to take your new fiance, let's say, to a flag football game with the guys. That's not something that we often do. But archery is one of those sports where, because everyone is there. There's youth, there's female, male, different categories for everyone, depending on your equipment. You can go and enjoy the day with your family or with your spouse, partner, and come away having not only enjoyed a great experience that you might enjoy, whether you're the male or the female. You can bring along your significant other and also enjoy that day with them, which is something that hunting kind of happens. A lot of the time we end up doing it on our own and then coming back together. Although you can sit in the same blind, obviously, with your significant other. But it's wonderful. I've had all my kids go. My wife has been slow to uptake the sport of archery, but you don't know. We might actually see her. I think there might be a bow in there behind me that's specifically for her. We might see her out at a shoot this year for the first time. So Fingers crossed. And I know how much I would enjoy that, to have them out. So it is definitely, would you agree? It's a sport that
It is, yeah, for sure. It's one that you can do together, but at the same time not be doing together.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, and I've taken my dad to shoots, you know, there's no age really too young, and there's really no age that's too old. That's the great thing about archery. I do believe that it is a real equalizer for all, the jock, the nerd, the whatever you like to call yourself. There is definitely a place for you in the world of archery. No doubt about it.
that is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I it's been amazing. You mentioned about how you've struggled with anxiety,
Yep.
and I know that a lot of individuals, and just with their own recovery for whatever reason you choose to use archery, it's very therapeutic. I've had a lot of people tell me that they couldn't imagine the benefits of shooting an arrow, how it would help them with their own recovery process. So it's pretty.
You're right, and it almost doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's almost a therapy for everything. You know, if you're had a hip replaced, you know, and the doctor say you're supposed to be trying to get out and get some exercise and strengthen it. Well, there's a way to make that happen at a lot of these archery shoots. And if the footing is you know, to get back and forth from targets, somebody will pull your arrows in your group for you. It's amazing how the community really does kind of help everyone. We've even had paraplegic archers to some shoots in their wheelchairs, as an example. And sometimes it can be hard for them to get to the target, but the path itself, at some clubs, not all clubs, you would want to double check on that. But for those that are wheelchair accessible, you know, the walking is great for everyone, from youth to people potentially that might be paraplegic. There are opportunities for everyone in archery in Nova Scotia. That I know because I've seen it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, other than that, Mel, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Was there anything that you wanted to kind of get word out about at all, that you wanted people to know, or new archers particular, or?
Well, new archers, stay safe, find a club in your area. Hopefully, we'll be able to have some shoot nights. I know there are a few across the province that are available. So if there is a club in your area that you're not even sure of, reach out to Emily at Sport Nova Scotia, and she'll be able to help direct your questions. We're always looking for volunteers, just like every organization, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a lot of really positive up and coming things, a lot of changes that not just the organization itself, but across the provinces and with Archery Canada have been working on standardizing. So that'll make going to a shoot very similar in Nova Scotia to be exactly the same, say in Manitoba or wherever else you have the opportunity to go to shoot.
Right.
Yeah, just have a great season. Looking forward to the indoor season starting up soon to get that practice in. Because
Yeah, I know. I'm already started my regime here after hunting season of trying to get my arrows shot, you know, with my little indoor range here, that I'm fortunate, obviously, to have. And because season's coming again, you know, whether it's a competition season or bow hunting. I mean, I still have rabbit, coyote. There are so many reasons to continue to become a better archer and therefore become a better bow hunter. And I'm glad I get to finish on that note, because if you want to be a better bow hunter, there's one sure way to do it, and that's probably to become a better archer and take those skills to the field. So thank you so very much. I so appreciate you coming on to the show, and I hope it's not the last time. But if there's anything that you are looking to try and get out to the hunting and angling community as a sport organization, reach out to me, and we will certainly do our very best to try and spread the word.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
Travis.
Have a good, happy holidays.
All right. You too.
Okay, so that was a wonderful conversation with Melanie from Archery, Nova Scotia, and there's a lot in that. It may not have necessarily been hunter and angler specific, but I do find that there's a lot of individuals out there right now that are trying to take up bow hunting, and I think I may have said this in another video that I had done just for Facebook, but at the last bow hunter safety course that we had done, I had asked how many people were hunters already, meaning had hunted with a gun, and only half of them had raised their hands. The other half of nearly 30, I think it was 26 or 27, so that means 13 of them, I guess, if it was 26, had never hunted before and were going to hunt with a bow for their first hunt. And I found that very fascinating. So there's really an interest, at least in that particular group. And I have noticed that there does seem to be definitely some interest from perhaps people who weren't necessarily gun hunters or gun enthusiasts who are wanting to get into hunting for whatever reason, and they're choosing to do that with the bow. If you are a new bow hunter and you're not necessarily as proficient as you think you could be, what an excellent opportunity to get in with a sport club, archery club, get some coaching, or at the very least continue to practice and then manage to get to some of these shoots and sort of test what it is that you have been practicing to make sure that you're able to apply it. Because practice in the yard, everyone's a champion in their yard. Let me tell you that for sure. Everybody can make certain shots in their yard, but when you go to a new course, all of a sudden that 20-yard shot with a slight downhill through a narrow corridor or with a tree here or whatever the case might be, it gets you thinking, and with that you become more and more proficient in multiple situations. And let me tell you, multiple situations in the woods while you're hunting, it is good to have already had that exposure. So I would certainly encourage, and that's all, it's not a need, but I would certainly encourage those either new to bow hunting or back to bow hunting, or perhaps guys that just haven't had the opportunity perhaps to shoot as much in recent years that are still bow hunting. It's nice to be able to go to a tournament like that, a 3D tournament or any tournament. Some of the shooting spots, target is certainly helpful as well. And that's sort of next level. Most of the time, I find that a lot of the target archers are, they're elite. They're trying to, get to that level. And, there are also some great target archers that are also hunters, and they're deadly too. So something to think about. Reach out to Archery Nova Scotia if you have any questions. They are on Facebook, and they do have a website as well. Look them up online. And Emily is the admin person that works at Sport Nova Scotia. And generally, anything that you email to them is going to go through to her, and then she'll forward those on to people that are going to be able to respond to you. That's how I understand it. So if you have any questions, comments, things you like, things you disagree with, by all means, please post comments below, and we'll handle them. And they'll be there for everyone to see, and different opinions welcome. Keep it civil, please. And we will see you guys next time we go to the woods. To the woods.